Welcome to another FPL video. We're looking at the best wildcard team yet again, but this time for Gameweek 24, and we're going to briefly discuss the double Gameweek in 25. There's not that much to talk about there, but for those of you who aren't aware, we're going to be discussing that and how that plays into this wildcard, which could be very beneficial up until the end of the season. So let's get straight into the video. I've talked about these two goalkeepers extensively, and the same goes for the two alternatives I always discuss. David De Gea and Ramsdale are two of the best goalkeepers you can get, and there's also Jose Sa and Robert Sanchez. Sanchez has a double game week in 25, just like David De Gea and Manchester United. They're going to be facing each other there, and they are the only two teams to have a double in 25, so you may want to get 2 or 3 United players potentially, and possibly a Brighton player or 2. But just bear in mind that Brighton do blank in 24, and similar to United, they have a fixture swing for the wrong way, and it turns pretty badly around game week 28, and that's where you probably want to jump off those assets. But De Gea, United aren't great defensively, but De Gea has been one of the best goalkeepers this season. He's made the most saves, so he can get plenty of save points, and the same goes for bonus. And as for Ramsdale, he plays in a decent Arsenal defence, which have kept 10 clean sheets this season, and I think they can keep even more up until the end of the campaign. There are 1 or 2 blanks there for Arsenal, but one of them could actually turn into a single game week, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem, and there's plenty of games that are yet to be rescheduled for the Gunners. But Jose Sa, you might want to go for him instead. The reason why I've gone for De Gea and Ramsdale is because I want to cover both of these defences, whilst at the same time going for a Wolves defender. I think the Wolves defenders like Aït-Nouri, Cody and Kilman offer better value than anyone Arsenal or United offer, except for maybe Tierney. But even then, you could just go for cheaper options in defence and cover Wolves, who probably have just as good of a defence as Arsenal, if not better, and certainly better than Manchester United. You can see the defenders here on screen. We've got double City defence with Laporte and Cancelo, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Digne and Aït-Nouri. I have talked about my reservations with Aït-Nouri, and there are several problems there. When Saiss comes back from the AFCON Cup of Nations, which could be as soon as Game Week 24, he's going to be slotting in as one of the centre-backs alongside Kilman and Cody. But then what happens with the left wing-back spot? Marçal or Aït-Nouri, who's going to play? Now, if Aït-Nouri is nailed, I think he offers the best value around his price anyway for a defender, and I think he is the one to go for, even over Lowton, who has plenty of games that are yet to be rescheduled. But if that's not to be the case, then if you have enough money, someone like Cody or Kilman would definitely suffice, and Cody is arguably the best defender from Wolves. There's also Semedo, who's a bit more expensive, but it's up to you how you go down this route. I'm also going to be showing you another team later on, which is going to have a few alterations, especially in the defence. A lot of you have been talking about Robertson, and I can understand that, but you would have to adjust and go for a different triple up for Liverpool. In order to achieve that, you definitely don't want to be sacrificing Trent or Salah in order to do so, but that's also something else to consider. I've gone for double City defence because for me, City are the best defensively. They've kept the most clean sheets this season with 13, Liverpool are second with 11, and Laporte is just offering great value around his price, and he can get those goals occasionally, and plenty of bonus points as well, even more so than Diaz at times. So I actually would go for Laporte as my second City defender, and if you look at his points returns over the last 5 or 6 game weeks, they're absolutely incredible, and Laporte and Cancelo is probably the best defensive double up in the entire game. Then we've gone for Digne. He could have a double in 24, but I will admit, I'm not a big fan of Aston Villa defensively. They've only kept 5 clean sheets, or now 6 this season. Nothing spectacular. And even though last season they were actually very good defensively, it's just not the same this time round. But Digne got his first double-digit haul of the season and his first assist with 12 points against his former club Everton. So he has shown what he can do, and I would go for him over cash. But for those of you who do have cash, like I talked about in my reaction stream, I probably wouldn't make that sideways switch, even though on a clean slate, going into a wild card or something like that, Digne would be my preference. I don't think we need to talk about Trent and Cancelo too much. Every single video, I always include them, and I don't think they need too much explanation. They're 2 of the best defenders in the game, 2 of the best fullbacks in the world, and they get so many assists, so many goal contributions, as well as points and clean sheets. So I think they are must-haves pretty much in a defence. Reece James was kind of reaching those levels at times, but these 2 have just been on their own level throughout the entire season, so I would definitely go for these 2. The rest is kind of secondary and malleable. You could change some things, but Trent and Cancelo, I think you have to have them in your team. For our midfielders, we have Mohamed Salah, but that will be dependent on whether he is available for 24, and we probably won't know that. It's going to be a tight call for whether he's going to play against Leicester or not, but beyond that, I definitely would want to have Salah in the team, regardless of his blank in Gameweek 27, just like with Chelsea. Diego Jota is also in there, but I actually could concede that maybe you could go for another midfielder like Phil Foden, especially if it enables you to get Robertson, who a lot of people are very keen on, and also with that blank in 27, you can just go for other players and other areas in order to actually have a fuller squad by that time. Bruno Fernandes has a double in 25 and some exceptional fixtures in 28. I'm going to be showing you a few alternatives to this very own team that you see here, and that includes Bruno Fernandes because De Bruyne is also looking very good. But with that double for Manchester United, I think I would go for Bruno Fernandes. You could also go for Ronaldo up front, but if I had to pick one right now, it would definitely be Bruno. Even in that blank that he had recently, he created a lot of chances, and I think he could do very well for Manchester United. While Ronaldo also looked threatening against West Ham, I think Bruno Fernandes just has been the better pick recently, and he is also cheaper and enables you to do more with your squad. Jarrod Bowen, I think, is kind of a mainstay, similar to Salah. I think the rest you could argue and make a case for going for Foden, Rafinha, Coutinho, and maybe a few others around different price ranges. But Bowen for me is almost a must-have as well, with some great fixtures for West Ham. Even though there aren't any rescheduled fixtures for the Hammers, I think Bowen is still a really good player to have. And then Jacob Ramsey, for me the best 4.5, 4.6 million midfielder in the game, and he could have a double very soon as 24, but once again, it's kind of looking a bit less likely right now, and it could actually be pushed to a further date or a later date, maybe around Gameweek 27. Who knows what's going to be the case, and we just have to keep on seeing what happens there in terms of double game weeks. There's going to be plenty more of these mini double game weeks, but Jacob Ramsey has plenty games that are yet to be rescheduled and also offers great value there. So I think Jacob Ramsey is the perfect player to complete your midfield. The forwards are a bit different to previous videos where I talked about the best wildcard team. I have Edouard, Watkins and Broja. Edouard has been very impressive recently and has shown that consistency that I was looking for, because throughout the entire campaign he was getting the occasional haul and then a lot of blanks in between, similar to Gallagher. But now that he's showing a bit more consistency, I'm more keen on him. But as you can tell, there just aren't too many options right now that are viable. You could go for Harry Kane, but then that means you don't go for Bruno Fernandes, who has a double game week in 25, and also Mohamed Salah. So you have to make sacrifices, and you also have to think about these things. What you could do with this wildcard team is in a few weeks' time, move Bruno Fernandes on and get Harry Kane in time for plenty double game weeks for Spurs. But Edouard for me, around 6 million is probably one of the best ones. Same with Dennis, I still think he's a good choice, and Roy Hodgson could actually produce a managerial bounce there for Watford, but time will tell. And as for Watkins, he'll have plenty of double game weeks, but I've already talked about him as well. He's not really the best FPL option. He has a lot of promise, he's got some decent stats at times, but never really delivers on what he can do. And you could just go for Antonio if you have enough money. Now, just to clarify, this team costs 105.2 million. I've got 0.1 million left in the bank, so I'd be 0.1 million off Antonio. And to be honest, I would rather go for Antonio over Ollie Watkins, but they're both good options nonetheless. And then we have Broja, just as your cheap budget striker. And with more money, I would still go for Dennis over Broja. And the alternatives I was talking about is going for Kevin De Bruyne in for Bruno Fernandes. And in order to facilitate that with the budget we have, Broja would go down to Gelhardt just as your kind of third sub bench fodder option. But I think I would rather go for this team, especially with the doubles for Manchester United. And across the whole pitch, even Daka, he could be an alternative for Edouard. Same goes for Dennis, who could still do very well despite some mixed fixtures and Watford being right there down in the relegation battle. Calvert-Lewin could turn things around, and even Damari Gray if you want a cheap midfielder. But I think this would be my ideal wildcard team if I were playing the chip right now. And now I'm going to be showing you a few alterations to this team just to give you an idea of the different options you have at your disposal. Just to clarify, the team I just showed you before, that is, in my opinion, the best wildcard team. These are some alternatives for all of these positions. So in goal, Jose Sa and Sanchez, as I talked about. There's still Martinez, who has plenty of double game weeks to come and also some very good fixtures, but I would rather cover Aston Villa defence with Matty Cash or Luca Digne instead, so I wouldn't go for the Argentine. And I think these two, along with the first two goalkeepers I mentioned, are the four best goalkeepers in terms of value. Then looking at the defence, we've got Robertson and Trent in there, but as you can see, there's a lot of money tied up, and I think it's worth it. But at the same time, you could have Cancelo and Laporte for much cheaper, as well as Trent, and then the rest could be filled with budget defenders. We've got Tierney and Cody in there. I think they're the best defenders from each of their respective clubs, but you can also cover their defences with their goalkeepers in Ramsdale and Jose Sarr. There's also Tomiyasu, Ben White from Arsenal, and in terms of Wolves, they have so many options. Semedo, Kilman, Saiss when he's back is arguably the best of the lot, so I would definitely look at getting him in. And of course there's Aït-Nouri, who might be the best in terms of value for money if he actually is nailed and is only 4.3 million. Looking at the midfield, we've got De Bruyne in there, but once again you don't have to have him, and there's also Bruno Fernandes with a double, so it's very hard to make a case for going for De Bruyne over Bruno, despite the fact that the Belgian has been so consistent recently, and also he's just been absolutely amazing in terms of general play. We've got Rafinha in there. He could have plenty of doubles as well, although the fixtures aren't that great if we're being completely honest. You could go for Coutinho instead as well. We've got Jarrod Bowen in there. I think Salah and Bowen and some of these players you see that have actually stayed from the original team, I think those are mainstays and probably the players I wouldn't question too much. But with Salah, he might not even make it for Gameweek 24. And there's also the case of Heung-min Son. If he's fit and available, I think he's definitely worth consideration. And I would even consider going for him over Bruno Fernandes. And you could definitely make that switch after the doubles are done for Manchester United, and also those good fixtures around Gameweek 27 and 28. There's also Gordon or Gray. There's a few others that are very cheap that could displace Jacob Ramsey, but I think Ramsey's quite a no-brainer really. And you could still theoretically go for 5 quite expensive midfielders and just stack your team full of squad depth. But I think that COVID cases will calm down a little bit. Obviously, I can't give a prediction like that. It's just my opinion. And also the fact that the Premier League have changed their rulings. So it's going to be more difficult for teams to request a postponement and have it accepted. They have to have 4 COVID cases by the very least, and also fail to meet the 13-player quota. So that's going to be very interesting. And hopefully that means there's going to be fewer postponements and FPL is less down to luck, as it has probably been since Game Week 16. And as for the forwards, there's Daka as well that I mentioned before, Antonio, Dennis, Gelhardt as a bench fodder option as well. But Daka is definitely one to look out for. He's been very good. The fixtures are quite poor, but when those fixtures turn, in a few game weeks time, we're talking around game week 28, Maddison and Daka look very good and I would highly recommend them. Just bear in mind that Iheanacho is back from the AFCON Cup of Nations, so there could be some rotation there. And Jamie Vardy, when he comes back in a few months' time, there's also going to be more fierce competition for Daka, but I think they're all looking very good, those Leicester attackers, in a few game weeks' time. And those are my thoughts really in terms of the best players you can go for. There's also Sterling as a premium, but I think Son, Bruno Fernandes and Salah are probably the best ones, along with Kevin De Bruyne. And there's also Harry Kane up front if you wish to go for the Englishman, who's going to have plenty of double game weeks. But personally, I think if Son returns and he's completely fine and is able to regain that level, I think he offers better value for money than his partner in crime. But thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new around here. We're very close to 10,000 subscribers, so any sort of support would be massively appreciated, whether you smash the like button, share the video, subscribe if you're new, or comment down below. And also a huge shout out to all the channel members. It's much appreciated. So thank you to Rock and Roll and to Aranya, who are in the Captain and Legend tiers. It's much appreciated. And check out the description below, as well as my latest community post about memberships and the changes I've made. So if you do sign up to become a legend, for example, you get early access to my videos and you can connect with me on social media, including Discord, Twitter and Instagram. So check out the perks. I think you'll like them, and if you have any suggestions for them, I will be very happy to hear them and also work with you to make the channel and the memberships better than ever. So thank you to everyone for watching these videos, and good luck with Game Week 24. We've still got plenty of time until the deadline, and there's going to be plenty more content for FPL and UCL Fantasy. The same goes for live streams. Those haven't disappeared all of a sudden. We did one the other day, and there's going to be plenty more on the channel. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.